At my mother's funeral, my father brought back a love child. She looked soft and obedient. I let out a cold laugh and looked at my younger brother behind me. His eyes were filled with menace, and he exuded an aura of danger. I walked up to him and slowly spoke. "Take it easy, don't kill him, at least leave me some breath." 01. At my father's birthday banquet, I was drugged. When I opened my eyes again, my hands and feet were tied, and I was facing several unfamiliar strong men. They grinned lewdly at me, their eyes filled with shamelessness. I trembled as I told them in a shaky voice that I was the young lady of the Sioux group, and if they let me go, my father could give them a lot of money. To my surprise, they laughed even harder, tightening their grip on my chin and said, "Young lady, do you think we brought you from your family's villa to this desolate mountain thanks to your father? Oh, and let's not forget your good sister." I widened my eyes in disbelief at their words and said, I have a younger brother. He is the heir of the GU group, and he has money too." They exchanged glances and mocked, "Are you talking about GU Nan? The one who just died in a car accident?" GU Nan is dead. The one who followed me around since childhood, and sweetly called me sister, is dead. The tension in my mind suddenly snapped, and I lost all strength to resist. Suddenly, a car rushed straight in from outside. GU Nan got out of the car holding a knife, covered in blood, and made his way to me. After untangling my ropes, he held me and said, "It's okay now. I've killed the damned ones for you, including those two from the Sioux family." After saying that, he fell asleep on my shoulder, and only then did I realize he had multiple wounds on his waist, bleeding profusely. I cried out to wake him up, and suddenly, the person he had just knocked down got back up, charging at me with a knife in hand. I turned to block, and the stabbing pain in my back came as expected. Then I collapsed onto GU Nan's back and gradually lost consciousness. In the haze, it seemed I heard the sound of a police siren. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the bed of my own villa. I felt no discomfort at all. I picked up the phone beside the bed to check. The time displayed told me I had returned to the day of my mother's funeral 3 years ago. I quickly got out of bed and ran downstairs, banging on GU Nan's door. After a moment, the door opened. GU Nan stood alive in front of me, and I excitedly hugged him, unwilling to let go. Suddenly, a trembling voice came to my ears, "Sister, are you back?" I was shocked. GU Nan's parents had passed away when he was very young, and our families were close friends, so he had almost grown up in my home. Although I am 2 years older than him, he is used to calling me Su Ching. It wasn't until my father brought Su Wan back, and they were preparing to get married, that he started calling me sister along with Su Wan. My tears burst forth as I cried, "Yes, sister is back, we are all back, how wonderful." After calming down, I asked GU Nan what had happened. It was then that I learned that my father, Su Ming'an, and Su Wan had colluded to design everything, intending to seize all the property under GU Nan's and my names, and even wanted our lives. What a good father and good sister I have. I treated them sincerely, quietly managing the Su family's business for Su Ming'an, and loved my half-sister Su Wan like a real sister, only to end up with such a fate. GU Nan and I exchanged silent glances. I saw deep hatred in his eyes, and he saw the same in mine. So next, let this drama called revenge be performed even louder. 02. Today is my mother's funeral, and in my previous life, Su Wan came to the Su family on this day. As expected, after the funeral, my father brought her in and announced on the spot that Su Wan was his daughter. She hid behind my father, looking obedient and soft, appearing pitiful. In my previous life, both GU Nan and I were deceived by her face, which led us to let our guard down and meet a tragic end. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh and turned to look at my younger brother behind me. His eyes were filled with menace, and he exuded an aura of danger. I slowly walked to his side and said in a voice only he could hear, "Take it easy, don't kill him, at least leave me some breath." GU Nan's lips curled slightly as he casually looked up, exuding an alluring aura. He inherited his parents' excellent physical features, with eyebrows like ink paintings, eyes like stars, a high nose, and naturally smiling lips, standing tall as a recognized handsome guy in the circle. He walked up to Sue Wan, leaned down, and said in a lowered voice, "Sister Sue Wan, welcome to the Sue family. I am very much looking forward to the days we will spend together." Su Ming'an's expression flickered, as he looked at him thoughtfully from the side. Ji Yunan also noticed this and then turned to Su Ming'an, saying, "Uncle, Sue Wan has just returned and doesn't know many people. How about I throw a welcome party for her? It will help her get to know everyone." He spoke sincerely and enthusiastically, and my father had no doubts at all, so he let him go ahead and arrange it. 7 days later, a grand party was being held at the villa on the outskirts of the city. And the star of this party was none other than Sue Wan. Ji Yunan and I sat beside the bar, watching the young men and women gather around Sue Wan, flattering her with sweet words, clearly making her very pleased. "What major is Sue Wan studying? She has a presence that surpasses even that of a movie star." Sue Wan blushed and said in a delicate voice, "Oh, no, I've been studying dance since I was little, so I applied to a dance academy for college." "No wonder. Just look at how graceful someone studying the arts is. Unlike us, who have to study finance, law, and management from a young age, and later take over the company. It's much better for someone like her, raised outside, just to take money and live freely." Everyone burst into laughter. Even Sue Wan, no matter how naive, should have realized they were mocking her. Her smile instantly froze on her face, and she felt extremely awkward. I looked at Ji Yunan, and his expression showed no signs of joy or happiness. Not long after, someone came to rescue Sue Wan, and the awkwardness of the scene passed. Then, someone suddenly suggested that Sue Wan perform a dance for everyone to enjoy. She originally wanted to show off, but pretended to be reserved, hesitating to go on stage. Ji Yunan raised his eyebrows at me while holding a drink, then slowly walked over and said, "Sister, do you think we rough people don't understand art? You're so stingy about dancing." Sue Wan was taken aback and quickly shook her head, then went up on stage and started dancing. The stage was connected to the pool, which was already slippery. After just a couple of moves, Sue Wan fell headfirst into the water. The pool wasn't deep, but Sue Wan couldn't swim. She lost her balance and flailed her arms in the water, asking us to save her. Ji Yunan stood by the pool, coldly watching Sue Wan struggle in the water, clinking his glass with mine from a distance. Everyone present was invited by Ji Yunan, each one more shrewd than the last. The Ji family heir is currently watching coldly from the side, and no one is willing to go down to save her. I saw Sue Wan struggling in the water for long enough. If this continued, someone would drown. He then raised his head towards the pool, signaling to Ji Yunan that it was time to save her. He took a sip of the drink in his hand, then turned and nodded to someone in the crowd. In the next second, a man jumped into the pool and rescued the exhausted Sue Wan, giving her artificial respiration in the process. Meanwhile, Ji Yunan announced the end of the party, and everyone began to leave. After a while, Sue Wan slowly opened her eyes, and Ji Yunan hurried over to express his concern. "Sister Sue Wan, you scared me. I didn't expect you couldn't swim. It's all my fault." His words were so heartfelt that I began to suspect he had taken an acting class in his spare time. After saying this, Ji Yunan helped Sue Wan up and then told her, "The one who just saved you is the young master of the Hua family. His father is someone Uncle Sue has been wanting to befriend, but hasn't found the right opportunity. Why don't you, sister, take advantage of this life-saving grace and go thank him? Uncle Sue's birthday is next month, and if you can help him connect with the Hua family, he will definitely be very happy." I bit my lower lip hard to keep myself from laughing out loud. As far as I know, the young master of the Hua family, Hua Feng, is currently on vacation abroad. However, Sue Wan is still naive now, and she agreed to Ji Yunan's suggestion, after being coaxed. After he sent Su Wan back to her room to rest, he came to my side. At this point, I was already a bit drunk, so I patted his head and said indulgently, "Our Anan has grown up and has more ideas. You don't need to worry about him anymore, sister." Ji Yunan frowned, snatched the drink from my hand, and then carried me back to the room, gently placing me on the bed. He tucked the blanket around me, then leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Su Qing, we are not blood relatives. So don't always treat me like your little brother." After saying that, he turned and left, but before he went, he said to me, "In 3 days, please watch a good show." 03. These days, I am still managing the Su family business behind Su Ming'an, just like before. Although Su Ming'an is my father, he has no business talent. He only invested all his money when my mother was struggling to start her business. But as far as I know, that little money was just a drop in the bucket, and later it was Uncle Ji Yu who helped my mother. Nevertheless, my mother was touched by him and eventually married him, leading to everything that followed after their successful career. After my mother passed away, I intended to directly enter the company's management, but I was opposed by Su Ming'an. He claimed that I was too young to manage the situation, and suggested that I manage everything behind him, promising that I could take over the entire company once he stepped down. I agreed, but I do not wish to think about what the final outcome was. This time, I will take back everything that originally belonged to me. I have rarely seen Ji Yunan these days. I am busy with company matters, and he should be preparing for the dramatic show he mentioned a few days ago. 3 days later, I received a message from Ji Yunan, inviting me to have afternoon tea. I know the address above it is Ji Yunan's top luxury villa in the west of the city, which he secretly had someone buy. No one else has been there except me. After I organized the things at hand, I drove over. As I drove into his garage, I frowned slightly. The pink supercar next to me is Su Wan's car. How could she be here? Just as I parked the car, I saw Ji Yunan walking over. He gentlemanly opened the car door for me and then took me up to the top floor of the villa via the elevator. How could Su Wan be here? I asked as soon as I entered the elevator. Ji Yunan chuckled and tilted his head to ask me, "Are you jealous?" I glared back at him, and he slowly explained, "Didn't I say I invited you to watch a good show? This is my home ground, and no one else knows, so it's more convenient." That's true, and Ji Yunan had previously requested that the top floor of the villa be changed to a facial recognition access system for more secrecy. I settled on the sofa, casually gathered my scattered hair, and saw Ji Yunan going to make me coffee, so I propped my head up and asked, "So you called me here to see what? Are you trying to show me your newly learned coffee art?" I successfully amused myself with my own humor. Moments later, Ji Yunan sat down next to me with a cup of coffee, and turned on the television in front of us. Immediately, the screen displayed images that could not pass the review, along with the rising and falling sounds. I felt my face flush and immediately turned to scold Ji Yunan. "At your young age, you're not learning well, and you still want to drag me into watching this with you. Aren't you ashamed?" He pried my hands away from my ears and said with a smile, "I'm only 2 years younger than you. Also, take a good look at who is on the screen." Hearing this, I turned to look, and the woman on the screen was none other than Su Wan. "Did you drug them?" I asked him in confusion. Ji Yunan pouted, and after turning off the television, said unhappily, "I'm not one to resort to any underhanded tricks, but just letting the Hua family's Ming taste a bit of sweetness, and shall come knocking on her own." "Is Hua Jiaming really a member of the Hua family? I haven't heard of him. What's the situation with this man? Isn't he someone you hired?" Ji Yunan shook his head and then told me that Hua Jiaming, like Su Wan, is an illegitimate child, but Mrs. Hua is shrewd and strong-willed. So he has never been able to enter the Hua family. When Ji Yunan sent someone to find him, he was being chased for gambling debts. After settling the debt collectors for him, he promised him a generous reward to approach Su Wan in the guise of Huafeng, which led to the scene we see today. Why go through all this trouble? Can't you just find someone at random? Is it that Ji Nan finds this more interesting? Illegitimate sons and daughters seem to be a good match. Ji Nan suddenly reached out and tucked my loose hair behind my ear, then said ambiguously. Su Wan is quite satisfied with my arrangements, so I need to collect some interest from her. After Su Ming'an's birthday, you can start preparing to take over the Su family slowly. Although I don't know what scheme he is plotting, it aligns with my thoughts. I just need an opportunity to take over the Su family. So, at Su Ming'an's birthday banquet, this opportunity presented itself. 04. The Su family villa is currently hosting Su Ming'an's birthday banquet. Those present are all business elites and friends and family. Su Wan is wearing a light pink strapless long dress, graceful and charming, chatting and laughing with everyone downstairs, afraid that others do not know that the Su family has such a daughter. As the time arrived, Su Ming'an appeared on stage holding a wine glass, beginning to recount his journey of establishing the Su Corporation over the years. I almost vomited while listening below. How dare he take credit for my mother's achievements as if they were his own. After Su Ming'an finished speaking, there was a round of applause from below, and then Su Wan walked up. Ji Nan and I exchanged a smile, secretly thinking that the climax of this birthday banquet was finally about to arrive. Su Wan held the microphone and said softly, "Today is Daddy's birthday, and as his daughter, I have also prepared a gift for him." She pretended to be mysterious and paused for a moment before looking at Su Ming'an and continuing to speak. "Daddy, haven't you always wanted to cooperate with the Hua family? The young master of the Hua family and I hit it off right away, and he has already agreed. He even recorded a birthday greeting for you." As everyone looked on in anticipation, Su Wan turned on the projector behind her. As the image appeared, everyone gasped, and Su Wan turned to look, her face instantly pale. Because what was displayed on the screen was the scene I had previously seen at Ji Nan's private residence, showing her in an intimate encounter with someone. However, it had been edited to only show Su Wan's face. Su Wan anxiously tried to turn off the large screen, but no matter how she pressed, it was useless. I stood beside Ji Nan, watching the small remote control in his hand, and couldn't help but smirk. In the end, it was Su Ming'an who went on stage and smashed the projector, which finally calmed the chaotic scene. Su Wan, pale-faced, picked up the microphone and explained, "I have been dating the young master of the Hua family for some time now, and it's mutual affection that." Before she could finish her sentence, someone arrived late and disdainfully said to Su Wan, "How could I not know when the young master of the Hua family fell in love with a lowly illegitimate daughter?" The newcomer had handsome features, sharp angles, wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, dressed in a black suit, stood tall, and exuded an impressive aura. I turned to look. Wasn't that Hua Feng, who was on vacation abroad? He had no connection to my family, so how did he end up here? I poked Ji Nan, who just smiled at me and said nothing else. Hua Feng spoke rather bluntly, which I quite enjoyed, but some did not. Su Wan asked sternly with a dark face, "Who are you?" "This is my business with the young master of the Hua family. Why should I tell you?" As soon as these words were spoken, everyone laughed. Ji Nan timely interjected, "Doesn't Sister Su Wan know him? He is the young master of the Hua family, Hua Feng, whom you mentioned." Only then did Su Wan realize she had mistaken the person, and she was so shocked that she fainted from the blow. Su Ming'an hurriedly called for someone to help her away, then walked up to Hua Feng, shamelessly saying, "Dear nephew, it's all a misunderstanding. My daughter is simple-minded and must have been deceived by someone. Please, as a magnanimous adult, do not hold it against her. I will definitely bring her to apologize to you another day." Hua Feng was also unceremonious, replying coldly, "There's no need to visit." I said, "A mistress ultimately cannot stand on the stage. Boss Su, please do not let her ruin the decades of family business that the Su family has built up." After saying that, he didn't even look at Su Ming'an's increasingly ugly expression, and walked straight up to me, sizing me up before saying, "I wonder if Miss Su Qing is free to have dinner with me." Ji Yunan stepped forward, blocking me and said, "She is not free, but I do have time to have dinner with Mr. Hua." Huafeng adjusted his glasses and after a moment said, "That's fine." 05. I looked at the two tense men across from me and suddenly regretted coming with Ji Yunan. On the way, I asked Ji Yunan if he knew why Huafeng appeared at the Su family, and he told me it was he who invited him. The invitation was none other than the interaction video between Su Wan and Hu Jiaming. Huafeng played with his wine glass and slowly spoke. "It seems the one who invited me is not Miss Su, but Mr. Ji Yu." Ji Yunan replied to him, "I admit it was my fault that invitation was a bit too eye-catching. And I hope Mr. Hua can forgive me. But it seems you are not completely indifferent to your own illegitimate child." Huafeng did not respond, but one cannot hide the intent in their eyes. That is exactly how he is now. Seeing that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, I lazily spoke up. "Mr. Hua, let's not beat around the bush. Hu Jiaming has been impersonating you to bully my sister. If this matter gets out, it might greatly affect Hua's stock price. I heard that you are not on vacation abroad, but negotiating a big business deal. If this causes Hua's business to fail, wouldn't that be a pity? How about?" Huafeng leaned back in his chair, looking at me leisurely. "How about?" I continued. "How about Mr. Hua signs the project that Su Mingyan originally wanted to contract over to me? In that case, I guarantee that video will have absolutely nothing to do with the Hua family. Even if Hu Jiaming is not doing well, he is still the offspring of old Master Hua. Once a scandal breaks out, the Hua family will also suffer misfortune. This is also why Ji Yunan went to great lengths to approach Hu Jiaming." I looked at Huafeng, whose expression was ambiguous, thinking he was about to refuse, when he spoke with a teasing tone. "It seems that Miss Su and I are of the same kind, willing to scheme against even their own sister to achieve their goals." I let out a cold laugh and replied, "Mr. Hua is joking. After all, it was your brother who plotted against my sister, and it has nothing to do with me." He seemed to dislike the word brother, and his expression changed instantly. He didn't even want to eat anymore. However, before he left, he still agreed to my terms and promised to sign the contract formally another day. My anxious heart finally settled back into my chest. Looking at Ji Yunan, his face remained calm, and I couldn't discern any expression. I was in a great mood. And like when I was a child, I pinched his cheek and said, "Our Ji Yunan has really helped his sister this time. Come on, what reward do you want?" Ji Yunan thought for a moment. A slight smile appeared at the corner of his lips. Then he tightly grasped both of my wrists with one hand and pulled my chair closer to him with the other. He leaned closer to me, his thin lips slightly parted, and I could even smell the faint aroma of red wine from his mouth. My heart skipped a beat, and I dared not look into his eyes anymore. "Sister, do you really like this title?" He paused for a moment before continuing, "Then sister, will you give me whatever reward I want?" Ji Yunan's call of sister made me feel a shiver all over, and I unconsciously nodded. As I watched him move a little closer, I foolishly closed my eyes. The imagined scenario did not happen. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Ji Yunan sitting up straight, looking at me with a wicked smile. I couldn't maintain my composure and turned to run, only to bump right into Huafeng. He was lazily leaning against the door, clearly having witnessed everything that just happened. I frowned and asked, "Why hasn't Mr. Hua left yet?" He pointed to the coat on the back of the chair and said lightly, "I came back to get something, and coincidentally saw a good show. No wonder Mr. Ji Yu is so intent on planning for you. It turns out his intentions are not just about the wine." Ji Yunan walked over with the coat and handed it to Huafeng, saying, "Drinking is harmful to health, especially when it comes to someone else's wine. Mr. Hua, don't overindulge." The way these two looked at each other was as if they were about to throw knives. They were truly enemies. After sending Huafeng off, Ji Yunan and I returned to the Su family. As soon as we entered, I saw Su Mingyan sitting on the sofa with a fierce expression. "I know this is about seeking justice. 06. Your sister has gotten into such a big mess. Why did you only come back now?" Su Mingyan shouted at me. I didn't want to tear our relationship apart so soon, but I didn't expect him to have the audacity to get angry, so I immediately retorted. Su-Wan has offended the young master of the Hua family. She can provoke us Su family, but we can't provoke them. If my father has time to vent his anger on me, he might as well discipline Su-Wan properly. Su Mingan's face turned ugly. You. How can you, an unfilial daughter, speak to me like this? It's all your mother's fault for spoiling you. You have no upbringing at all. I felt my blood boil. How dare he mention my mother? Just as I was about to speak, I didn't expect Ji Yunan to be even angrier than I was, and he said sternly. Uncle Su. Aunt Lin is a good friend of my parents. And I can say that she raised me. Do you think I have no upbringing as well? Although Ji Yunan grew up in my family, he had the entire Ji Yu family backing him, so Su Mingan didn't dare to offend him directly. I could only suppress my anger and cautiously ask. Little Ji Yu, I heard from Wana that it was you who introduced her to that man. You grew up in the Su family. How could you deceive your own sister? You have to give me an explanation for this. Ji Yunan smiled and said, I'm wronged here. On the day of the welcome party I organized for her, the Hua family did send someone, but it wasn't Hua Feng, it was Hua Jiaming. I guess Su-Wan was eager to connect with you, so she went to find him herself. He thought for a moment and continued, as for why she mistook the person, I can't say. After Ji Yunan finished speaking, without waiting for him to ask anything else, he pulled me back to the room. Su Mingan was extremely angry, but had no place to vent. So he could only smash things downstairs. I laughed at him, saying, you can't handle this little thing. Then it's likely to get crazier from here on out. Originally, today, Su Mingan was supposed to announce something, which was to let Su-Wan enter the management of the Su family and work under him. Su-Wan was too eager to show off and released the video early, missing this opportunity. However, given Su Mingan's affection for her, it was only a matter of time. As expected, in the Monday morning meeting next week, Su Mingan issued a new appointment on the company intranet, and Su-Wan was parachuted in as the vice president, causing quite a stir. I called Ji Yunan and said, you can send it now. Then, the scandal involving the new vice president of the Su group quickly trended on social media. Since the male lead did not appear in the video, many internet celebrities jumped on the bandwagon, claiming to be the male lead in the video. Some professional haters deliberately claimed that the male lead in the video was a certain male celebrity, causing the incident to escalate, ultimately leading to a sharp drop in Su Group's stock price. Of course, this was not without Ji Yunan secretly fanning the flames, while I took the opportunity to buy up some of the scattered shares held by certain shareholders. 3 days later, the company held an emergency board meeting regarding this matter. As Su Mingan prepared to go on stage with his prepared remarks, I walked straight in. Seeing me appear at the company, he darkened his face and said, this is not a place for you to be, hurry up and leave. I sneered, this is a company founded by my mother, and I am one of the shareholders. Why can't I come? After saying that, I slightly nodded to the uncles and elders present, most of whom I had already visited. To prove my strength to them, I brought the contract signed with the Hua family, which is why I gained their support and tacit approval for my attendance at today's board meeting. You don't have any shares, so what kind of shareholder are you? If you don't leave, they'll call security to drag you out. Su Mingan shouted. I walked over to his original seat and sat down, slowly speaking. Father, I remember that before my mother passed away, she reminded us to carefully read the contents before signing any documents. How come you don't remember this? Right now, there's no one without shares, but what about you, father? After saying that, I threw a pile of materials in front of him. He looked through the materials in disbelief and suddenly slumped to the ground. Then he suddenly glared at me fiercely, crazily trying to rush at me, but was caught by the security at the door and thrown out. I sat in the chairman's seat and announced the dismissal of Su Mingan from all positions in the Su group on the spot, after which I officially took over the company. Then I had the public relations department issue a statement that the Su group was founded by my mother, Lin Xianglan, and had nothing to do with Su-Wan. The former chairman, Su Ming'an, has resigned in disgrace. From then on, the storm gradually calmed down, and everyone began to forget about this matter. That day, I didn't return to the Su family villa, but went back to another apartment I had bought. I moved all my things over and planned not to return to that home again. I just didn't expect that Ji-Yunan, instead of living in his own mansion, insisted on coming to live here with me. I opened a bottle of red wine, handed him a glass, and asked, "How is Su-Wan?" He shook the wine glass in his hand and said lightly, "Hu Jiaming has almost squandered the money he took from me before. He can't find me, but he has approached Su-Wan. You know, gamblers like him are the hardest to deal with." Later, I learned that under Hu Jiaming's threat, Su-Wan secretly transferred all of Su Ming'an's retirement savings, and after being discovered by Su Ming'an, she was sent to the hospital. At such a time, how could I, as her sister, not go to comfort her? 07. I looked at Su-Wan, bruised and lying on the hospital bed, and felt quite pleased. At this moment, she no longer pretended to be gentle and kind, glaring at me fiercely and saying, "From the first day I returned to the Su family, you have been plotting everything, right? Why are you doing this to me? Aren't you afraid of retribution?" I looked at her unwilling expression and said with a smile, "How do you know that everything you are experiencing is not the result of karma from your past life?" Her expression froze for a moment. Then she said fiercely, "You vicious woman, just like your pretentious mother. It was because of her that my mother and I were abandoned back then. Now you have won against me with dirty tricks, and yet you still pretend in front of me." I raised my hand and slapped him. "You better watch your mouth. Dirty. I think that word suits you better. I've never resorted to despicable means. The way you look today is all your own doing. Just enjoy your days with your gambling boyfriend from now on." As I came out, I brushed past Hu Jiaming, who was actually carrying a fruit basket to see Su-Wan. He probably sees Su-Wan as his own ATM. Sure enough, he had only been in for 2 minutes, when the sound of things being thrown came from the room. I had no interest in their affairs, so I left. I didn't expect that Su Ming'an could actually find my new home. After not seeing him for a while, he had become very haggard. Seeing that I had returned, he immediately ran over enthusiastically, confessing all his past wrongs, saying that I would always be his favorite daughter, and asking me to move back in with him. I disgustedly shook off his hand and coldly said, "Your favorite daughter is currently lying in the hospital, so please leave immediately." Seeing my firm attitude, Su Ming'an became furious and tried to make a move, but was stopped by Ji-Yunan, who appeared just in time. He could only leave in disgrace. "Be careful these days, I don't think he will give up easily," Ji-Yunan reminded me. I also understand that allowing him and Su-Wan to be outside together is always a hidden danger. Once a person falls from heaven to hell, they will desperately try to drag others down with them. But I will never give them the opportunity. Recently, both Ji-Yunan and I have been leaving early and returning late. I have just taken over the company, so I naturally need to achieve some results. Under my insistence, Ji-Yunan has also focused on the management of the Ji-Yu family business, and no longer revolves around me. Perhaps he specifically instructed the security of the community and the company, as I haven't encountered Su Ming'an in the past few days. Sometimes I feel like someone is secretly following me, but I have a rough idea of what the situation is. I didn't report it to the police, because I was also waiting for them to take action. Only then can I truly pin the crimes on Su Ming'an and Su-Wan. But I didn't expect that the one who ultimately kidnapped me was actually Hu Jiaming. 08. Hu Jiaming took me to the house where he lived and demanded that I tell him the passwords to the safe and bank cards at home. I looked at the small and dilapidated house, and couldn't believe that he lived in such a place after all. He is still the son of the Hu family. He saw me looking around and said, "What's wrong? Didn't expect me to live in a place like this." I frowned slightly and asked him, "It was Su-Wan's idea, right? You tied me up and she went to get the money. Aren't you afraid she will take the money and run?" Hu Jiaming impatiently said. Stop the nonsense and just tell me the password. I know you look down on her like Hu Feng does, because she's a bastard. Once I get the money, I'll take her away, which is also a good thing for you, isn't it? I didn't expect he actually had real feelings for Su Wan, it's quite interesting. I looked at the knife in his hand, chuckled, and said. I give you the password, and once Su Wan gets the money, you'll just stab me. This deal doesn't seem worth it at all. Hu Jiaming coldly replied, You're right. She did tell me to kill you once the job is done, but I'm only after money and don't want to take a life for it. So as long as you honestly give me the money, I won't harm you. My eyes darkened slightly. Instigating others to kidnap and extort is enough to get a 10-year sentence. After giving him the password, I secretly pressed the miniature alarm hidden in my sleeve. A few minutes later, the person who was supposed to save me had not yet arrived, and Hu Jiaming's phone rang first. I thought it was Su Wan, who had informed him, but I didn't expect his expression to change drastically after he received the call, and the look in his eyes became terrifying. After hanging up the phone, he walked up to me with bloodshot eyes, pressing the blade against my neck, and said harshly, You tricked me. I didn't understand what he meant, so I could only try to calm his emotions while asking him what had happened. Only then did I realize that Su Wan had also been kidnapped. And it happened in my apartment. I told Hu Jiaming that this was not my idea, after all. I couldn't have predicted that Su Wan would go to my house today. If those people were originally coming for me, then it was obvious that the mastermind behind it all could only be Su Ming'an. By the time Ji Yunan arrived here, Hu Jiaming had already left. He untied the ropes binding me, his face dark and silent, and I knew he was angry. Ji Yunan. I gently tugged at the hem of his clothes. I know I was wrong, please don't. Before I could finish my sentence, he tightly pulled me into his embrace. Promise me, next time don't take risks like that again, okay? I felt his body trembling slightly, so I gently stroked his back and reassured him, okay, I won't do it again. After a while, I pulled away from Ji Yunan, took out the voice recorder I had hidden on me, and told him about Hu Jiaming and Su Wan's situation. Su Ming'an probably didn't expect that the person they kidnapped wasn't me, but Su Wan, who went to my house to get money. Ji Yunan snorted coldly and said, You reap what you sow. Where is Hu Jiaming? I think he must have gone to find Su Ming'an. I recalled Hu Jiaming's expression. Before he left, Su Ming'an was likely in trouble. Before long, the police arrived as well. 09. After understanding the situation, the police returned to the apartment with us. As soon as we entered, we saw the room in disarray, with faint traces of blood visible. A mobile phone was also found under the living room table, and the last call record was indeed from Hu Jiaming. After I finished the statement with Ji Yunan, the police were still searching for evidence at my house, so I prepared to follow Ji Yunan back to his home. At that moment, I was stopped by a police officer. He looked at me with a serious expression, and after a moment of thought, he said, Miss Su, there is something I must tell you. Please accept my condolences. I had a rough idea of what he was going to say, and then I heard him continue. The officers we sent to your father's house have reported back. Your father, he was stabbed multiple times and has died on the spot. I looked at Ji Yunan, who stepped forward and asked, Have you caught the murderer? The police officer shook his head and said that when they arrived at the scene, only Su Ming'an was lying in a pool of blood. I put on a sorrowful expression, then went back to my room and wrote down an address to give to the police. When the Hu family kidnapped me, I received a phone call. Later, I heard him mention this address. The officers can check it out. This was, of course, made up. This address was the place where I was taken during my kidnapping in my previous life. I have a faint feeling that the people hired by Su Ming'an might still be those individuals. Early the next morning, I received another call from the police. Ji Yunan and I hurried to the police station, only to unexpectedly encounter Hu Feng there. He was about to leave and glanced at me with an ambiguous expression before walking away. I nodded at him, and that was the end of our interaction. In the morgue, I saw swoon. She had multiple wounds, and the fatal injury was likely the stab wound to her chest. She has been pregnant for 2 months, the investigating officer told me. I was shocked to hear this. No wonder Hu Jiaming wanted to take her away. The police also mentioned that when they arrived at the address I provided last night, the scene was already one of a struggle. Many people died on the spot, including swoon and Hu Jiaming. Another person was rescued, and later confessed that they were instructed to kidnap and eliminate a woman living in an apartment. In this way, everything is connected. Hu Jiaming and swoon kidnapped and extorted me for money. When swoon went to my house to get the money, she unexpectedly ran into someone who wanted to kill me and was mistakenly kidnapped. Hu Jiaming rushed to save her, but both of them ended up in trouble. The police were puzzled as to why Hu Jiaming went to find Su Mingyan first. I said he might think that Su Mingyan was likely the employer of those people, because I had expelled Su Mingyan from the Su group, and it was normal for him to hold a grudge against me. The truth is that Hu Jiaming did not know where swoon had been kidnapped to, so he could only go to find Su Mingyan first. Perhaps the two had a conflict, or Hu Jiaming killed him out of revenge for swoon. I looked at Ji Yunan, feeling a surge of emotions in my heart. Their ending was surprisingly similar to ours in the previous life. And in the end, Su Mingyan could not escape death. So, the cycle of karma is indeed true. Those who do evil will surely face retribution. When Ji Yunan and I walked out of the police station, it was the hottest time of noon. I looked up at the blazing sunlight, which was so bright that I could hardly open my eyes. The bad people have all been punished, and now I am the only one left in the Su family. In the next moment, a long hand reached out from above, shielding me from the glaring sunlight. I turned my head, and Ji Yunan was looking at me, his eyes bright. I just came out and saw you standing here in a daze. What are you daydreaming about? The record is almost done, and the police said we can go home now. I smiled with my eyes curved and took his hand, saying, let's go home.